Okay, so this is kind of some dry stuff, and I apologize for that, but I'm trying to show you why the next section that we're going to go into is so cool because you're going to eliminate so much. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna go over here to my toolbox. Can I get it from over here? No. And I'm gonna put in a container. I guess I could have grouped them, but bad way. And let's grab all you evil things, put you all in there, and disable the whole container. Better way to do it. Okay. Now, let's come back to, oops, I shouldn't have shut my toolbox. I thought that I minimized it here. And I'm going to drag another one over here and call this one good way, because there are actually multiple good ways to solve this particular problem. We're going to do this one with a single data flow task. And our data flow task is going to have, son of a gun, did I close it again? It's going to have a single source. And watch what our source is this time. Our source is everything where the status is either insert, update, or delete. Okay, so we are eliminating the ends, the ones that did not need to change. We're grabbing every row that does need to be synchronized at the destination, right? So we're getting them all in one fell swoop. Now, those of you who are not doing deletes at the destination, obviously you would need to do that. Okay, so now here's where our beautiful, wonderful conditional split comes into play. You remember this guy from chapter 4? The conditional split is awesome. So we're going to come down here and we're going to say, okay, if, where's my column? If the status column equals I, we're going to call that inserts. Okay. What did I type in wrong? Oops. If the status column equals U, we're going to create an output called update. And the default is going to be deletes. So in other words, if it isn't an insert, if it isn't an update, then it must be a delete, because we already filtered when we brought the data in for only IUD. So you see the basics of my conditional split here. If the value of this row's status column is an I, put it to the output called insert. If the value is a U, then put it to the output. Else, delete. Okay, send it to the delete output. So coming out of this conditional split, there are going to be 3 outputs. So where do you want them to go? Well, let's do the inserts first. So where do we want to insert it? A SQL Server. Okay, inserts. Oops, so I have caps lock on. So let's grab out of our conditional split, which one? Notice our outputs. Well, we obviously want to pick our insert. And where do you want to put it? We created that DW order detail table, right? So mappings, sweet, okay? Don't want the status column, so it's not in there. Say cool. And let me go ahead before we start and delete that table. And let me reset all of this, okay? So I'm going to update the base table to set the status equal I again for every row, because we're doing another technique. So let's just completely start over. We're resetting. And so now here's the difficult part. What do you do for updates and deletes? Well, this is where your OLADB command comes into play. So come and drag this over here. Give it a name, updates. Drag from the conditional split. Choose the update output. So remember what the update output has in it. It has every row that had a status of U. because that's what the conditional splits definition was. And then I'll go ahead, since I'm here, and I'll do one called deletes. And I'll just get the final output from conditional split. And I always kind of giggle at the auto format, so let's see what it does here. It actually makes it look pretty. That actually did a good job. What's left for me is these two. So I'll do the deletes first because it's the simplest to understand. We come up here, we choose the connection. So there's our destination server. We go down here and we type in the command. So we want to delete from the destination table where the primary key is equal to the value of the input rows. And so this is what we call a composite primary key, which means it's made up of multiple columns. So there's our primary key, sales order ID and sales order detail ID. And our question marks are parameter markers. So you need to understand how parameter markers work in SSIS. And the first one is parameter 0, and that was sales order ID. Second one over here. And if you're unsure, remember in this statement that this guy is param 0 and this is param 1. Okay? So I'm cool. I've done my deletes. Updates. Same thing. What's your destination? Now, the update is probably the trickiest of these three because you've got to make a decision. Let's play around for just 1 second. I hate to take us off course, but how will you perform your updates? You have two choices. One, delete destination row and insert source, the source row. So this becomes a two-part, a delete and then an insert. Or two, update the columns at the destination. Now this, step number 2 can be broken down into two types. So you could say, do you update every column? Or do you only update columns that have changed? Whew. Boy, now it's getting complicated, isn't it? I mean, this second section over here is much more challenging than the first, right? The first up here is, I could probably figure out how to do that fairly easy. We just talked about how to do the delete on the primary key. So if I can delete, then I could do an insert. Not that challenging. If I choose to update every column, okay, well, that's not that challenging. The only negative that I have here is I'm updating columns that don't need an update run against them. I am modifying columns that weren't truly modified at the source, which, truly that's what I'd be doing up in that version as well. The challenging one is this bottom guy down here. How do you figure out which columns have changed? Okay, that's what's so great about the change data capture in SQL 2008. Makes it very easy. You can do a checksum on the columns. That can get very, very expensive to do. You can check the data, say where they're different. That's crazy. Let's see which one that I'll do. I'm going to do number 1. You can do any of the ones that you want. You know what? I just thought of something else. I just thought of, I shouldn't have deleted that. The third option would be to update only certain columns. So this is actually fairly common in a data warehousing scenario. You're synchronizing tables, but you don't care if somebody updates the product notes because those will never be reflected in the data warehouse. If they update the quantity in stock, if they update the unit price, you care about that, but there are certain columns you don't care about. So you could only update certain columns. So I'll do that one, okay? I'm just trying to make sure you understand there's a lot of different ways to do this. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say update the destination. See what we have here. There's a great one, the quantity there. We'll do that one again. Set order quantity equal question where primary key equal and sales order detail ID equal question. Okay. And so here's parameters 0, 1, and 2. To come up here, param 0 is order quantity, and just map you bad boys up. I'm cool. And the last thing that I need to do, come back up here to my execute SQL task and reset. And now I have a single execute SQL task that I run against the source. And we simply say update source and set the status equal n, where the status is equal I U D. Now you could have said we're status not equal n, but I'm using this because some of you guys maybe only be doing I and U, some may only be doing D, so I'm trying to make it flexible. And so I like this version. I think this is awesome. Let's just go and remember we reset. We set everything at the source to that. We deleted out that table, right? The problem with this is that I'm probably going to run into contention issues. Okay, let's see. It ran fine this time. Okay, and it actually does bring over all of our rows. So this is our destination, and if we look at, let me just bring these down here. If we look at this, sure enough, it updated those to N, right? We're going to get into issues, though. I'm going to give you some. So remember what we did? We changed this to U. I want to do more rows. No, I'll do this. I'll set them all to 0. Okay, so I'm changing the source for these rows. There's a check. I can't make them 0. 100. So 51 rows. And you'll notice they're 99 at the destination in the data warehouse. So now we run this again. I'm going to drill down on this when I run it because you'll see the 51 rows pipe through the update. So you see 51 rows went through the updates here. And you saw it was a little slow. So it's synchronized this all together, and sure enough, it brought it to 100. Now, this worked because we were doing teeny numbers of rows. I want to show you how I can break it. Should I show you how I can break it? I'm going to come back in the next video and break it. This has gone on a long time.